Back in the day when I first dipped my toes into World of Warcraft, it was during vanilla. Picture this, a 10-year-old me playing only on weekends at my dad's house, blissfully clueless about the game. Here's my first character actually. He was a low-level wonder with a whopping 7 days playtime, and before the level squash this guy was level 34 because I had absolutely no idea what I was doing back then. So I really didn't get the full vanilla or TBC experience. It wasn't until Wrath of the Lich King where I got my own laptop that I could finally play WoW more regularly. But being young and basically friendless, at least in the WoW world, I was super casual until Mesa Pandaria rolls around. Fast forward to today, and Classic has brought back all versions of the game that I missed, and let me tell you, the Burning Crusade is still where I had the most fun. Hands down, it's my favourite version of World of Warcraft. So let me break down WoW TBC was the bee's knees. Now guys, if you're like me, you're just not getting your MMO fix right now, you don't want to wait around for the Burning Crusade, then it might be time to broaden your horizons and try something new in the MMO universe. Guild Wars 2 has just dropped its latest expansion, Jan for Wilds. The game is totally free to try out, no need to sell your soul for a subscription fee. The new storyline will take you to the mysterious and long-forgotten Isles of Janfer, a place so far off the map that even Google Maps will say, you're on your own mate. I've already sunk a good 5 hours into the game, you go and check out my previous live stream for proof, and I've got to say, I'm genuinely blown away by the world and quest design. Guild Wars 2 has ditched the tired old go kill 10 balls quest model. The high quality voice acting will help you get lost and immersed in the story, but you'll also stumble across all sorts of diverse side objectives and world events on the fly. 1 minute you're on a simple escort mission, and then you're unravelling a mystery that culminates in a mini world boss battle. And the new homesteads feature allows you to build your own cozy cabin in the wilderness, complete with gardening, fishing and all the rustic charm of your own fantasy B&B. I also love how mounts aren't just taxis in this game, they actually have their own unique abilities, and new to this expansion is the Warclaw, who can use the ability Sniff to find nearby enemies. They'll also now be able to use a spear weapon on land, and every class can use it with their own unique abilities. Honestly, I haven't seen an MMO that's more welcoming to new players. There's no mechanics pressuring you to log in every day, you're free to play what you want, when you want, at your own pace. So check out our description down below, and thank you Guild Wars for sponsoring this video. Well, back to TBC, this expansion always had something special about it. It felt like Vanilla's cooler, more refined cousin, whereas Wrath, it kinda just overwrote some of Vanilla's charm. In Vanilla, you were stuck playing certain classes if you wanted to be viable, but in TBC, those meme specs were turned into viable support classes. The fourth role of a support class is something not many MMOs have anymore. Most have followed this format of having a tank to take the damage, healers to heal the damage, and DPS to zerg the boss down. This has all the strategy of a toddler smashing blocks together. Fill the spots, make sure you've got a class that can bloodlust, and boom, you're good to go. This was just a bit boring. In TBC though, boths weren't raid wide. You needed a good mix of hard-hitting DPS and support classes to boost the performance of the entire raid. Classes complemented each other and had better synergies of each other. The Affliction Warlock had a totally unique debuff that lowered the boss's damage output. It was essential for Sunwell. Shadow Priests were like mana batteries for the healers, and Survival Hunters and Feral Druids brought debuffs that made everyone else deal more damage. Setting up raid groups actually mattered, and figuring out the perfect combination was part of the fun. I mean, the downside, well, sometimes your performance tanked if you weren't in the right group. Fair enough, that was a little bit irritating. Talent also got a serious glow up in TBC. Boring talents were kicked to the curb, AoE options were expanded, and new playstyles emerged. And then of course, there were the achievements. You proved yourself worthy for a series of tests, a real hero's journey with some good quality demon genocide. It added a sense of progression and adventure to the game. You couldn't just waltz into a raid like you owned the place. Why would Karazhan's front door be open for just anyone? You have to kind of think about it, it doesn't make much sense. Contrast that with the Wrath of the Lich King, where you could literally just stroll into Icecrown Citadel like it was your local Walmart. Achievements built up fear and excitement while you were progressing on gaining access. You had to unlock heroic dungeons and power up your character before you could even think about stepping into a raid. There was just so much you had to do and so much to keep you busy. Remember the thrill of finally walking into a Nyxti's lair or Karazhan for the first time? That was just pure magic. I know achievements can become a bit of a slog, especially when you have to deal with on multiple characters, but I think the simple solution to that is achievements should be account-wide. Fortunately, that is something that private servers do implement, but unfortunately Blizzard didn't in TBC Classic until the next phase came out anyway, where they totally removed the achievement. One downside of TBC is that it wasn't very alt-friendly, I do agree with that. Most people did just raid on one character. Heroic dungeons in TBC were top tier. They actually required strategy, crowd control, tactics, and careful pulls. None of this AoE spamming nonsense unless you wanted to die a painful death. Not until you were better geared anyway and your tanks could actually hold aggro. The variety was also astounding. Some dungeons were quick, while others were epic, hour-long sagas. Honestly, those Cabal trash packs at the end of Shadow Labs were more engaging than all of Wrath's heroic dungeons combined. In Wrath, the dungeons were more like fast food, 20 minutes long, 4 bosses, and you're done. I loved how in TBC you had an area with dungeons and raids, and how via Citadel you progress through Rampart, Blood Furnace, and then finally the Shattered Halls, until eventually Magfaridon's Lair. You are working your way through the enemy's defences, defeating many different tiers and types of foes until eventually crescendos with a big boss to defeat. Tempest Keep and SSC being another great example of that. It's hard to put into words, but the design structure of a TBC endgame just hits differently compared to other WoW expansions. But to put it simply, for me, I just found it way more exciting. I still have my original Burning Crusade game box, and looking at this fills me with more nostalgia than any of the others. There's just something about TBC that just resonates more than any other expansion. Maybe it's the setup, the vibe, or the fact that it's just so cool. The Blood Elf and Draenei starter zones were unlike anything in vanilla. They were vibrant, fascinating, and added a touch of sci-fi to WoW's high fantasy world. I mean, who doesn't love sexy Blood Elves and massive demons? Sorry by the way for the Royal Mail truck that just went past my house, that totally ruined that audio recording. When I first entered the Dark Portal on my Draenei Paladin, I don't think I felt more excitement for starting an expansion's new world content. I remember looking at Outland underscored on my world map and thinking, Christ, I can't wait to finally go there. It looks evil and blown to shit. And you know what, it didn't disappoint. Outland is a world ravaged by years and years of war to the point where it had to be renamed to Outland instead of Draenor. The more you explored Outland, the more you realised just how sinister and f***ed up the place was. Instantly you encounter strange abominations created by evil demon forge masters, orcs being forcibly farmed for their blood or mutated into super orcs. It was all pretty messed up. The expansion had a clear antagonist from the beginning. Illidan's voiceover during the TBC trailer is probably one of the most memorable, what the f is that word? Memorable moments in World of Warcraft's history. The voiceover is set up as if he's directly talking to us as the players. He's angry at us for daring to enter his world and taunts us, telling us we're not prepared. It was the best setup for an expansion we've ever seen, and his boss fight was so satisfying because it's one of the best of the whole expansion. It was also such a cinematic experience with the voice acting complementing it. It's a mystery to me that Blizzard haven't mumbled about a fresh TBC Classic server, especially now with so many players quitting Season of Discovery and not wanting to play Cataclysm Classic. Before anything new happens to the world of Classic, we now have to wait for SOD to cycle through all of the endgame content. And because the population has dropped off a cliff, like Season of Mastery, less and less effort is going to be put into Season of Discovery as the phases go on and on. I really am not positive about Classic WoW's future at this current time, if I'm going to be honest. So it's the perfect time for a seasonal, faster progression TBC server to launch with the same 150% increased XP buff that Season of Discovery has, with some of SOD's added features like Dual Spec, maybe some new World PvP events, and maybe even the Heroic Plus dungeons from Wrath. It would also benefit from more alt-friendly mechanics like account-wide attunement and reputation. You've got a huge amount of people who want it, and a huge amount of people not playing Classic WoW right now, who are definitely not going to play the War Within. There really is a gap in the market, and if Blizzard don't fill it, it's only a matter of time before some private server does. Fortunately, private server options are pretty diabolical right now when it comes to TBC. Stormforge introducing a paid subscription service that gives you instant flight path transportation, no durability costs, and no consumable cost when you consume consumables, amongst other terrible paid features. Then you've got Warmane's Onyxia server, which will hit the TBC expansion soon, but obviously that server is pay to win. The only real good option right now is to just play on your own TBC server, which is actually pretty easy to do, by the way. I'm honestly thinking of doing it for a laugh because I'm honestly really craving TBC right now. Anyway, my name is Metagoblin. Until the next video, ciao.